You are now listening to the Be Your Own #Love Goals podcast with Mo Ari
and Tiffany.
We just want you to remember that every person, regardless of identity, wants these three things: belonging, authenticity, and love.
And after a decade of partnership, we've learned to co-create these things and so much more.
So from wherever you're listening, we're going to go on a journey of becoming our own #Love Goals. Now let's get into this episode. Hey, it's Mo Ari
and Tiffany.
And this is the Be Your Own Love Goals podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It's been a delight doing all of these episodes. Is this episode 50?
It is episode 50.
Big
woo,
time.
Woo. Big energy.
You know, it's been a long-term goal for me to start this podcast. And when I finally was like, hey, should we do a podcast together?
Mm-hmm.
I think it just clicked. It's like, that's why this was not, happening. So then when we started last year, we, took our time getting our rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Podcasts are a lot to start. And so being consistent and getting to 50 episodes is a real blessing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very, very grateful.
Yes.
And
I'm proud of it.
Yeah, thank you for saying you're proud. I'm feeling proud for us too. I've been thinking a lot about my time as a therapist, working with couples from all different backgrounds. For anybody who's not familiar, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been working with individuals, families, and couples for the past decade. And I've worked with all kinds of people. I can't even say I just have worked with the queer community, because I've worked with all kinds of couples. And many of the challenges that I would say people have faced often started in the earlier parts of their relationship. Not gonna lie. So that shifting from the beginning part of being individual to an item is really, really important. I like to call that this shift from being me to being we. I'm sure you've heard that concept before. And in the therapy world, this stage, I would say, of your relationship where you're shifting from me to we happens at different moments for different people.
Yeah.
I think depending on your dating history, it could happen, or gender, or a number of other factors. I think that shift can happen pretty intentionally when you become exclusive in your committed relationship. But for many people, that shift doesn't begin to happen until you're married or you have kids. It just really depends on, right. And there could be levels to it. So I wanted to talk about that with you because I know from my experience, oftentimes when I'm looking at what was a challenge in a couple's relationship dynamic, it often started much earlier. And we've seen that in our relationship. Some of the things that we're talking about had happened years prior. So that means that what's happening in that shift is very vital to the relationship success. Vital information for us to understand about what will make the relationship successful. So, Tiffany, when you think about the time, your process of shifting from me to we, and I'll share what mine is later. When did that shift happen for you from me to we? So, no judgment either.
No, I agree with you. First of all, that there were many moments and many levels to this.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that shift happened at the point that we solidified our relationship. So that was a moment. For those of you who don't know and have been living under a rock, if you listen to this podcast, we started our relationship long distance.
Being shady to our listeners. I'm sorry, y'all,
love
for Tiffany being shady.
I love y'all. Y'all know we started out long distance. So another part of that me to we was when we moved in together. It was like, oh, we're doing this. We're living together. We have to learn to adapt to one another's living styles. And this is interesting, right?
Yeah.
And then I would say that more recently, I would say there was some of that happened when we got married.
Yeah.
Once we, got married. And then more recently, when we had Nova, it's so many iterations of this. I do feel like the moment though that we had
That's
Nova,
not even that recent. Time for another child. She's 3 years old now.
You done?
I'm gonna do this on every episode. I'm teasing.
I think that admittedly, the moment that we had Nova and we really started, that we started we didn't start our family. I think this is the difficulty here for me, because I feel like that was the moment for me where I was like, oh my God, this is a we.
Right.
This is a we. And it like fully integrated when we had Nova. So we had Nova 2 years into our marriage and about 4 years into our relationship.
No.
4 to 5? 6. So I had different
7,
moments.
depending on how you count the beginning of our relationship.
Okay.
Yeah. 8.
Yeah.
Because when we met was 2012.
Yeah.
So we can keep going back, right?
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So for you, is like levels to it. I agree. There are many levels to it. I can see it from that perspective, because I was fixing my mouth to be like, when Nova got here. No, but there was certainly this peak level for me around the responsibility of fatherhood and being a husband that shifted with Nova and the soberness of the pandemic.
Yes.
So I started getting in my like dad bag, my husband bag.
It was giving big dad energy. The hats, the outfits.
No.
I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm sorry.
I just picture the uncle with the cookout slides on. Not me.
Well, you look cute in the dad hats.
No. Yeah. So I've been in that bag, but I could see how this was a progression. I just feel like it was a slower progression for me. I don't know if that's gender, some, invulnerability around masculinity that I'm still working through, like what is happening. But for me, it felt like a slower progression. So, and maybe that's from the outside looking in. I can't qualify what your journey was, but I'll say when we got together, it was certainly like we're a we, and I had more relationships than you. So I knew that there was this possibility in the back of my mind. It could not work out.
Yeah.
And so it was a longer time for me to just really lean in and be like, okay, this is a long-term relationship. Now I knew very early I wanted to marry you. So I would say about a year in, when I started to be like, I think I really want to marry her. That's when the we started to happen for real, for real. Like this is, Then, I proposed to you and you were like, not right now, but yes, but not right now.
Hold on for a second.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a like, why not me moment. We went to therapy. Our therapist was like, you could just have a prolonged engagement. And I was like, that's a thing? And that shifted it immediately from here. I'm like, we still a we. We is back on.
We is back on. You hilarious.
We is back on. So everybody probably doesn't know I proposed to you about a year into our relationship. You're like, yes, but not right now. We had some things we wanted to clear up with our families of origin. We wanted to invite Tiffany's family of origin in a little bit more in particular, and really work through things around like sexual orientation and everything like that. Beautiful relationships exist now. So this is ancient history. But going back into that history, I think when I'm like, we is back on, we then go into this prolonged engagement period. So if that was like what? Probably 2015 when I proposed to you. You had just finished grad school, but
I was still in grad school.
You were still in grad school. Right. You were still in grad school your last year. A year later, probably about a year later in some months, you finally moved to Chicago. So we started finally like living in the same place. And that's solidified the we in the biggest way next to when Nova got here for me. I can't even say it was when we got married because I was already like with you, but you moving to Chicago and us moving in together was like huge.
Yeah.
Because for many people that don't know, in between us living together and getting married, I had top surgery. You had stood beside me getting my name changed. You let me, we got a civil union. I got on your benefits. So there were many moments in between there where that we was like unionized in a way that it felt like marriage.
Yeah.
And I was serious about you already before we got that legal paper. So I can't say it was the wedding ceremony, although that was beautiful. You being at my side through top surgery, name change, really sticking with me during my gender transition, going to my first testosterone appointments and all of that. That was like, this is my we. So then by the time we walk down the aisle, I'm like, we just telling y'all now.
Right. That's true.
And so then once Nova got here, or once you became pregnant, I should say, going through the IVF process together was the next part of that journey. It wasn't just when Nova arrived. It really was going through pregnancy with you, following up behind you, being focused on what you're eating, cooking your meals, being like really in your business.
All in my business. All in it.
That's that was exciting for me. I know you have different experiences through that pandemic journey and being pregnant.
Oh my God.
So I know it was harder for you. And it probably sunk in more once Nova got here. The we part, because you were probably so, and had to be so in your experience of your body, what's happening, your own spiritual journey to be prepared for motherhood. Whereas I was like really focused on us and the last moments we were going to have as a couple before we were like a we with Nova, which is like a whole family.
A whole family.
Yeah, so I was really focused on that particular experience of the we that's forming into a family during that time.
I feel like, you're spot on with the number. I'm starting to even think of other moments in our relationship that felt like that me too we. And I keep playing in my head, we was back on. Like, that's hilarious that you said that.
We back on. Because I was worried when you said let's postpone it. I'm like, oh no. What is going to happen to we? Are we going to be okay?
Are we going to be okay?
And so when I figured out we outside, we back on, I was like, oh, you can't tell me nothing. We could be in a prolonged engagement for infinitely. Like I probably would have been fine for a long time just with our we.
Yeah.
Because it already was unionized in this way that felt like very official in terms of the emotional connection we had to one another.
And I would say at each of those moments for me, shifting from me to we, no matter the level at any point in our relationship, I feel like there often was pushback internally for myself. And I think that pushback was rooted in, am I going to lose me? If I transition to we, where does Tiffany fit in here? And I am a very independent person. Okay. Like, I am very independent. I choose to be in a relationship with you, and I want to be in a relationship with you, and I can be independent. And so thinking about making any of those transitions, whether it was moving to Chicago, entering a civil union, deciding to be engaged, any of those moments, I know that some of the difficulty with really leaning in that arose in a lot of those was, okay, am I still gonna be Tiffany? Like, who is Tiffany gonna be lost in this? I feel like even more in our more recent history, there have been moments where I've had to lean in And my struggle with leaning in has been not wanting to lose the me in all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder
Yeah.
if you have experienced any of that kind of internal conflict when thinking about those transitions.
I'm gonna say yes,
Mhm.
just to make sure that I'm not being like absolutely not,
Yeah.
because it's possible.
Mhm.
I will say that that was less present for me,
Mhm.
and I think that that has something to do with gender.
Yeah.
I think
Mm.
when I would say any person who identifies as femme or identifies with the terminology femme or
Mhm.
feminine,
Mhm.
anybody enters a relationship that identifies as somewhere on the feminine
Mhm.
spectrum, often there are these expectations in relationships in our society that you will be the nurturer, the caretaker,
Mhm.
that you will be responsible for all these things
Mhm.
that put these demands on your emotional capacity. So, and so much of that me part is rooted in the emotional, personal experience. So
Mhm.
when you have that many demands on you, it's harder to take care of yourself and to
Yeah.
focus on self-care.
Mhm.
And I think I kind of came into the relationship with the expectation, and that's why I say this is probably rooted in gender,
Mhm.
that I would be focused on providing
Yeah.
financially, emotionally, and otherwise,
Mhm.
spiritually, all of the things being very present and well rounded in that.
Mhm.
But that you would understand if
Mhm.
I needed to spend extra hours working.
Mhm. Mhm.
Whereas if, Nova is sick and somebody has to stay home, not that the default falls to you, but that you'd understand
Mhm.
if it's like, not that you'd understand, that you'd be the person that be more flexible or remain flexible to adapt for those things.
Mhm.
And I think I had to understand that this has to always be a conversation. You
Yes.
can't just, I can't just expect you to do those things.
Mhm.
But I would say that coming into the me, we shift, I
Mhm.
definitely, I don't think I was worried about losing myself.
Mhm.
I came in being like, we're going to just make
Yeah.
time to go to the gym. We're going
Mhm.
to make time to do X, Y, and Z,
Mhm.
not always fully capturing how much harder that is to do as a
Yeah.
person who always has like another human that is
Mhm.
physically demanding something from
Mhm.
them.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think when we were solo, like we didn't have a kid,
Yeah.
it was different.
Yeah.
But like now that we have a child, I think it's definitely shifted how I've had to navigate my own role and
Mhm.
responsibility. It's
Mhm.
fine just being provider emotionally, spiritually, physically.
Mhm.
We get our workouts in, we do
Mhm.
our own schedule when we
Mhm.
don't have a child.
Mhm.
But that had to shift as well for me. But I don't
Mhm.
think I worried about losing myself. I came in with the expectation that I would not.
Yeah.
But I think that that's gendered.
I was gonna say I
I think that that's
definitely
gendered.
feel that that's gendered, and for me as a person that can buck against traditions,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't want to be seen as like this particular version of what a wife is or a mother is and how they exist in relationship. Now, I've talked at length here on the podcast about how there are things that are traditionally aligned with motherhood and wifehood that I do really enjoy. So I have to continue to lean in and be vulnerable in those areas. But I was very clear that I don't want to be lost or swept up in that as my identity, because at the end of the day, above all else, I'm
And
Tiffany.
that's profound, because
Mhm.
yes, you are
Mhm.
Tiffany. You don't
Mhm.
have to worry about being any of these other
Exactly.
expectations or versions of you. You
Mhm.
just get to be you. And
Yes.
if you enjoy cooking and organizing
Yeah.
in any relationship, this is for our audience too, you enjoy those things, don't shy away from them because it seems stereotypical.
Mhm.
It's like, if I do enjoy those things as well, and I won't
Mhm.
shy away from them because that is not expected of
Yeah.
me as a masculine
Mhm.
person. I
Mhm.
also won't shy away from fixing things. I really enjoy building stuff, doing things with my hands, and I won't shy away
With your
from that.
hands?
Oh my gosh, Tiffany, you and these sexual innuendos in
Okay,
all the
I'm
episodes.
sorry. I'm sorry. I could not let that just slip under the radar.
I love doing things with my hands. Yes. All kinds of things. Oh my gosh. I'm not gonna shy away from that
Yeah.
because it's stereotypical, right? So I think, yes, I love your authenticity. And you have said this to me a lot. Like, I don't want to just be Mo's wife. I don't want to just be Nova's mom. I want to be Tiffany. And I think that speaks to your desire to be authentic, to be all of those things at
Yes,
once, and to be
exactly.
seen as your own specific brand of you. And I think that that's what we're talking about
That's
here with
beautiful.
Be Your Own Love
Yes,
Goals.
being you is being your own love goals. Being Mo, be your own love. Like, it's literally, that's the essence of everything that we talk about.
Right.
That formula for being Mo for you is loving to do things with your hands, and also liking to bake, and
Right.
also doing all the other things you enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's you.
Yeah. I got a question for you, Tiff.
Sure. What is it?
In thinking about that, because I know you've gone on your own journey of self-care and really spending a lot more time working on yourself, taking care of yourself. I'm thinking about if we are leaving, we want to leave our audience with some tools here for how to be thinking about this journey from me to we intentionally. We are talking and getting at the importance of individuality, individual identity, self-care, and mutual support in relationships. So because you spend a lot of time working on yourself and really pouring into yourself over the past year, what is the significance of maintaining this sense of self within your relationship? So if you were able to kind of like boil it down to, a thought for people to walk away with around the significance of maintaining self-care, because people could tell you to do self-care all the time. They don't explain why it's important. If you could just take a moment to just give them something that's a morsel for them to take away with, to walk away with around self-care and why it's significant.
Yeah, I really appreciate you for saying that, Mo. And before I fully answer that question, I just want to say that self-care is vast. It is not just going and getting your nails done or taking a warm bath. While those things can be self-care, I see self-care as pouring into who you are at the core of any of your other identities.
Yeah.
And for me, that's Tiffany.
Yeah.
Tiffany is a lot of things. I am wife, I am mother, I am sister, I am a number of different things. But at the core of all of those relationships, I'm Tiffany. And self-care means being the best Tiffany for me and for everybody else. And that in that, I have to take care of myself in a number of ways, whether that is going to the nail salon and doing these things that give back to me or that are relaxing.
Right.
And sometimes it's boundaries. Sometimes it's saying no. Sometimes it's having those hard conversations. And so thinking about going from a me to a we, there's no way that I can expect another person to care for me or pour into me more than I do that for myself.
Yeah.
If I am not, like, there's no way I cannot be doing that and expect that all of my needs will be met by another person.
Yeah. And I hear you saying that self-care increases one's self-awareness. I hear you saying that. Then I hear you saying that self-care allows you to really pour into yourself so that you are showing up to the relationship with all of your best. You can't say you've been a great partner in the we or you're holding up your part of the we if you haven't given to yourself so that you can be your best.
Exactly.
So I appreciate you, really highlighting the significance there. And so I also heard you say things about communication. And when I'm thinking about communication is that we can't get from, I'm gonna say this right here. We cannot get from me to we without a conversation.
Ooh. That part.
You cannot get from me to we without a conversation. We have to really talk about it. All of those moments that we highlighted were milestones.
Mhm.
We punctuated those milestones by having conversations
Mhm.
about the next step.
Mhm.
So for anybody in relationships where y'all don't really talk about these steps,
Mhm.
I want to see a shift in that, because
Yeah.
the intentional nature of your relationship forming or going from me to we requires that you punctuate each of those individual steps, whether it's you're
Mhm.
moving in together intentionally, not
Mhm.
because your lease is up. Let's have a
Mhm.
conversation about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, you're having a child and an intention,
Mhm.
you're talking about it. Or at least once y'all know y'all having a baby, y'all start talking about what that's going to mean for
Mhm.
your relationship,
Mhm.
really punctuating those things. And it sounds like that's a part of that self-care process,
Mhm.
or what self-care offers you is the ability to know your own voice and
Right.
what your needs are, so you
Exactly.
can communicate them
Exactly.
as you move from me to we. So I
Exactly.
appreciate you saying that out loud too.
Mhm.
Um, what do you think is the role and the significance of community support networks in
Mhm.
navigating I'm sorry. What do you think is the role of your community support in navigating your relationship moving from me to we?
Mm.
Just again, like if you could just give us like a quick soundbite about that,
Mhm.
because I want to get to some of these other topics here, but I know that friendship has played an important role in, or
Mhm.
community, your family has played an important role in that shift. What do you think it is for you, and what do you think it is that people need to know about the significance of that?
Yeah, so as it relates to community support and moving from me to we, I think we all, we say every episode, we all want belonging, authenticity, and love. And
Yeah.
it's very important that these people that we spend a lot of time with, a lot of intimate conversations and moments with, that they are one supportive and celebratory of this transition. And it feels really good when you have that like backing to
Yeah.
do so. And so I would say that in moving from me to we, it is really important to understand if that community support is accepting of the we that you want to move into.
Yeah. Yeah.
And ideally, they'll become a part of that we too. But
Yeah.
if you are surrounded by friends, family, tribe, community that is like, I'm not really here for this we that you creating. I don't really want to be a part of that we. That's information.
Right.
And that is like, well, I need to keep you on this
Yeah.
side of the transition.
Yeah.
If you're not in support of the we that I'm creating, if you no longer want to be a part of the we that I want to create, we might have to part ways at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that advice. Sound wisdom. You
Yes.
know, I also think it's important for couples forming this we to balance their independence and togetherness.
Mhm.
You talked about that in balancing your self-care, your relationship with yourself. So really going into the relationship intentionally with that in
Mhm.
mind. It's like,
Mhm.
what time will I carve out for me?
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing you saying.
Mhm.
What time will I carve out for the identities, the things I
Yep.
already love, the hobbies I already have?
Mhm.
And if you all share them, that's fine. But if there are spaces that are just sacred to you that you just want to
Mhm.
do alone, honor that as well.
Mhm.
Everything doesn't have to be together, and there's not a you're not in a deficit in your relationship if you don't like all of the same things for this reason.
Exactly. And your partner cannot be everything for you
Right.
or to you.
Right. Yeah.
It's just impossible. And so
Exactly.
it's important to have that time away. I mean, with whomever
Hmm.
that also can be some of these things that you might really need. Like
Yeah.
it's like you're saying, it's nothing wrong if you need that time. I actually encourage it. I think it's very helpful. I feel like I crush on Mo even more when we're away, like when we were doing our own things. It's like, ooh, I can't wait to see you. Ooh,
Yeah.
it's important.
It's absolutely important.
Mhm.
So this goes along with setting boundaries,
Mhm.
really being clear about what it is that you want or you don't want in the
Mhm.
relationship, what your boundaries are around your time, what your boundaries are in
Mhm.
terms of your exclusivity.
Mhm.
Be intentional about talking about that.
Mhm.
Talk about your shared values and goals
Mhm.
throughout the relationships,
Yeah.
because those are things that shift.
Mhm.
Then we want to talk about navigating challenges together, like how we will navigate those
Yeah.
challenges. What's our framework for getting through conflict and challenge or
Mhm.
adversity together?
Mhm.
Those are intentional moments throughout the journey where we can ensure that we're forming that we well.
Yeah.
The last thing is that in order to form that we in an intentional way, we have to have a growth mindset. We have
Mhm.
to be conscious that we're going to keep evolving.
Yeah.
And the goal then has to be that we want to do that together.
Mhm.
So I would say those are
Those are really good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the key points that I wanted for us to take away from this episode. And I know for you, this self-care piece, this individual piece feels
Mhm.
very important because it was
Mhm.
important to your journey.
Yeah.
So for anybody walking away from this episode, I just invite you to keep thinking about um, your experiences of maintaining individuality in your relationships as
Mhm.
they've evolved.
Mhm.
And really quickly before we wrap up, Tiff, I want
Mhm.
to ask you this question.
Mhm.
We're at the buzzer.
Okay.
So this is your truth or truth, though. I'm not going to
Mhm.
skip it in this episode. So I
Okay.
know there's somebody
Because I would
listening
be
that's
very
like,
upset if you skip truth or truth. It's my favorite.
before we became a we, what is one thing you wish you knew about partnership?
Mm. Hmm. Before we became a we,
What is one thing you wish you knew about partnership?
I wish I knew that you did not squeeze toothpaste the same way that I did.
And on that note, I am so grateful for you all.
Oh my gosh.
We are going to be
Oh
back
my
with you all next
gosh. We'll be
time.
back.
This has been Be Your Own Love Goals podcast with Mo Ari.
And Tiffany.
Have a great day and be well.
Bye. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Video episodes are on YouTube and Spotify.
If you want your question included in an upcoming episode, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at Be Your Own Love Goals or check out our website at lovegoalspodcast.com. We look forward to hearing from you soon.
Bye.